Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is again our lecture on value-added tax, and we have here at the moment some exercises how cases, simple cases, should be worked on and solved. And so just have yourself be surprised by what is coming. I hope it's not a surprise and not so challenging. Well, it's a simple case which follows. This is Albert from Aachen in Germany, and Albert is the owner of a factory in Düren in Germany. And Albert gets an order for to produce a copying machine, and that order comes from wholesaler Willi in Wilhelmshaven in Germany, and the price agreed upon is 10,000 euro plus VAT. By the way, I have no idea how much a good, excellent professional copying machine costs in a copy shop or so. So it's either 100,000 or 5,000. I don't know. If it's cheaper, then inflation will probably take care that in the course of time this example will sound realistic. If not, just pardon me, take it as it is. Something is produced and sold for 10,000. All the details don't really matter. So we assume it happened as you can read it here. The order is received on the 1st of March. Production begins on the 1st of April. The machine is finished on the 10th of April. The product is transported to the customer in Wilhelmshaven, and the transport begins on the 15th of April. And the good arrives at Wilhelmshaven on the 16th of April. Now, Willi, the wholesaler from Wilhelmshaven, in turn sells the copying machine to a customer in Munich. This is now at extremely the other end of Germany, down in Bavaria, for a price of 15,000 euro. The transport of the machine from Wilhelmshaven to Munich is done on the 20th of May, and this is everything which we need to know. And so what we should do next is analyze the case and solve it. So let's first make a small sketch what's going on here. We have first Albert, who is from Aachen, and we have as his customer Willi from Wilhelmshaven. So let's sketch here Wilhelmshaven, abbreviated this way. What really happens here is that Albert sells to Willi a machine, and the price is 10,000 plus VAT. Okay. Now this machine is transported during that transaction from Albert's factory. So evidently Düren, because you remember Albert lived in Aachen, but his factory was at Düren. And so that's the beginning of the transport. And the transport ends at Wilhelmshaven. And this is now evidently event number 1. Then afterwards we have a second event, that is that Willi sells the machine to somebody in Munich. So let's make a sketch of the second transaction and exchange everything which has to be changed. So first, this is now transaction number 2. This is now Willi from Wilhelmshaven sells a machine for now 15,000. By the way, here the text does not say 15,000 plus VAT, but 15,000. Customer customer in Munich, and the good is transported here from Wilhelmshaven to Munich. So that's everything what happens here. So we see there are two contracts in the case, so two events are going on, and we have to comment one after the other. So let's begin at the beginning. So first event, sale of machine from or by Albert to Willie. The first question is naturally, is there a taxable event? And what we need to test is paragraph 1, number 1 again, because number 5 is not possible here. It's not an inter-community acquisition of a good, something which you later will find out in the later course of the lecture in some months or so. So what we have to test now is first the 3 simple criteria. Is Albert an entrepreneur? Yes, he produces machines. Paragraph 2, 1 USDG, sentence 1 and 3. He is independent because it's his factory, aims at revenue, and it's a constant activity, sustainable. TBT. Okay. Is it within the scope of the enterprise or the range of the enterprise activities? I'm not sure how good English would call it. Yes, producing machines in case of a machine producer. This is clearly a part of his enterprise activities. It's even the core business. So 1 sentence 2 USDG. For consideration. Is this now for consideration, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, he demands a price, so he doesn't do it for nothing. And now the core question, delivery of a good or service. And a delivery of a good is always given if you have a tangible good and economic ownership is transferred, or better, if the position like an owner is transferred. 3.1 USDG, delivery of a good is a clear yes, because machine is a tangible good, you can't touch it, it has a physical existence, and ownership changes. Then we also have, or last but not least, we have to determine if the event is attributed to the inland. If from the perspective of VAT it should be attributed to the inland. For this we need the place of delivery. And there are 2 basic rules, you remember that, 3.6 and 3.7. 3.6 if the good is moved during the transaction, 3.7 if that doesn't happen. Here we have definitively a transaction where the good is moved in order to fulfill the delivery contract. So where the transfer of the good towards the customer begins, here that is Düren, because even if Albert lives in Aachen, his factory is in Düren, and if the product is delivered starting there, then it's a clear case that the place of delivery is there. So that's in the inland, so taxable transaction in Germany under number 1 USDG. The next question which we have to ask now, from now on, is now if we have a tax exemption. We have to look into paragraph 4, and paragraph 4 says not applicable. There's no entry for copying machines, so liable to tax. Number 3, the tax base, paragraph 10, 1, sentence 1 and 2, the consideration, so the net amount, that's everything which Albert gets. And he gets 10,000 plus VAT minus VAT included therein. So minus VAT. So the net amount is evidently 10,000. And then we go to tax rate and tax amount. 12.1 says it's 19%. Of course, paragraph 12.2 does not apply. So we have a tax of 19% on 10,000. So 1,900 euro. Now let's come to 5, the formalities, how the tax is paid and all the other stuff. The taxpayer is Albert because he is the entrepreneur, 13A1 USDG. The arisal of the tax. So when the tax comes into existence and says, hello, here I am, you don't get rid of me now, apart from by paying. That is at the end of the preliminary declaration period, during which the delivery was made. And now we have many dates here to select from, and the delivery was made, well, when the good was handed over. So on the 15th or 16th of April, the delivery was effected, probably when the good arrived in the hands of the customer, 16th of April, or depending on the conditions and the German civil law, it can also be regarded as fulfilled when you hand it over to somebody who is going to dispatch it. That depends a bit on civil law, but in all cases we have the situation that this is here in April, and so the end of the declaration period is the 30th of April. Invoicing details, nothing special. VAT has to be confirmed in the invoice, as always. Declaration duties, nothing special. So no peculiar case here. No peculiarities which are not within our testing scheme. And input tax claims. Well, Willie can claim input tax from the purchase of the machine under paragraph 15.1, number 1 USDG. Have a look on it. That says you have a right to input tax declaration if you buy something for your enterprise activities, and Willie buys it in order to resell it. So that seems to be convincing. So Willie can claim 1900 at the moment when the good has been bought. By the way, even before it is so the invoice is paid. Now event number 2. Willie sells to customer Munich. Again, the taxability is the important question. Test paragraph 1. Now number 5, intercommunity acquisition is not possible, so the remaining number is number 1. And we begin again with, is it an entrepreneur? This time it's Willie, and the answer is yes. He trades with machines. Paragraph 2, 1, sentence 1 and 3 USDG give us the answer. If you read that and compare it with the information I gave you here, then you can't avoid the conclusion he is an entrepreneur. So that's already a sufficient solution within his enterprise. And the answer is yes. Trading a machine for a machine trader. That's even his core business, so it belongs to his business. It would be sufficient if it were an occasional side effect of his business activities already, but if it's even the core activity, then it's a very clear case for consideration, and the answer is yes, demands a price. And He demands a price. Now the question is again, is the delivery of a good? And the answer is yes. Paragraph 3, 1 USDG. The machine is a good, and we have transfer of ownership, or better, more correctly, transfer of the position like an owner. This is a different expression, and the difference is that, for example, if you sell stolen goods, the buyer can never become legal owner, but nevertheless you have transferred the position like an owner, because the buyer will think he's the owner, everybody will think he's the owner, probably under normal circumstances nobody ever finds out. And so the legal difference that officially he cannot be the owner is in practice nothing which matters in such a case, and so that would explain why the position like an owner is sufficient for tax law. Tax law looks to realities, not to formalities, primarily. Is it to be attributed to the indent, this transaction here? And the answer is we need the place of delivery. We have a delivery where the good is moved, 3.6, sentence 1 USDG, that is here, where the transferred towards the customer begins. This is Wilhelmshaven, and this is in Germany. So that is, everything is fulfilled, taxable in Germany under 1, number 1 of the USDG. Again, now you will have to ask yourself for a tax exemption, paragraph 4, and there is none which is applicable. So it's liable to tax. You will have to pay. If you have to pay now, you need a tax base. The tax base under 10.1, sentences 1 and 2, is the consideration or net amount. And the net amount is everything which Willie gets. That's 15,000. Minus VAT included therein, that is 19% out of 119%, because if this is what is really paid is the gross amount, and so that's 119%. And the VAT included therein is 19, so the net amount is evidently the remaining 100% out of 119% of 15,000. And now we need a calculator. Typing in is the most important competence which you should have in your job. 12,605. Hope that it's true. We will now make the test. Tax rate and tax amount. Well, it's 19% because of paragraph 12.9. Because paragraph 12.2 does not apply. So 19% on 12,605. And even typing in should be done better. 12,605 times 19%. That's 2,394.95. The difference is evidently a rounding difference. So I was probably too optimistic here in rounding. So let's check it. And indeed here it's what I forgot. It's 5 cents here. Okay. So if we add that up, you will see it's correct. It adds up again to the gross amount. The formalities. The taxpayer is now the entrepreneur. Pays again, always. And this is Willie. The arisal of the tax at the end of that preliminary declaration period during which the delivery was made. Here, that's May, so end of May, 31st of May. Paragraph 13, 1, number 1, USDG. Invoicing details and declaration duties, nothing special, same stuff as always, nothing peculiar. For example, no wrong invoicing and other details which should be commented. And at this point, as points which do not regularly show up in our testing scheme. Input tax claims, probably if customer in Munich is an enterprise, they might have an input tax claim under paragraph 15.1, number 1 USDG. If they bought the copying machine for their enterprise, would that be 2,394.95 above? And for Willie, see end of last case, first event. Willie naturally had an input tax claim from buying that machine from the producer. Also, Willie might have input tax claim from the costs of the transport. Just to show you that, it's covered by my face here. There it is. So we are probably finished with that case too. And here you see, well, if we have two transactions in one single case, also no problem. It was nice to get used to the sketch. And here you see naturally when the same machine was delivered twice, then first you see from where to where does it go during the first transaction, then where does it go to during the second transaction, then everything's fine and nothing difficult was in the rest of that case. So I thank you very much for watching again and hope to see you soon for the next small case. Thanks and goodbye.